$30 billion gone, 2 years of war, and America's wallet bleeds across Gaza, Iran, Yemen. New jets, new bombs, new graves, all paid for by taxpayers. The Costs of War report doesn't read like strategy. It reads like a bill. And behind every billion, another choice: feed a conflict abroad or fix a crisis at home. Over the last 2 years, the United States has spent more than $30 billion on the ongoing war in Gaza and the wider Middle East. That's right, more than $30 billion, much of it funding military support for Israel. A new report from the Costs of War project at Brown University's Watson Institute reveals the staggering financial impact of the conflict. Between October 2023 and September 2025, the US provided nearly $22 billion in military aid to Israel alone, its closest ally in the region. An additional $9 to $12 billion went to US operations across Yemen, Iran, and other areas affected by the spillover of the conflict. Altogether, the total price tag ranges between $31 and almost $34 billion. And that doesn't even include future planned sales to Israel.
In a normal year, Israel would get $3.8 billion in U.S. military aid, pursuant to a 10-year agreement reached during the Obama administration. In the first year of the Gaza war, that figure skyrocketed to $17.9 billion, the highest level ever.
This explosive increase shows just how extraordinary the US commitment has been, underscoring that the conflict is not only a humanitarian and geopolitical crisis, but also a massive financial one. For Americans, it raises questions. How do billions of dollars in military spending shape US foreign policy, and at what cost to domestic priorities? To fully grasp these numbers, one needs to understand what they've been spent on. October 7, 2023 marked a turning point. Hamas and allied Palestinian factions launched a surprise attack on Israel, killing around 1,200 people and taking approximately 250 hostages. Israel's response was unprecedented in scale, leading to over 67,000 Palestinian deaths, according to Gaza's health authorities. The violence quickly spilled beyond Gaza. Iran-backed groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen joined Hamas, and Israel itself clashed directly with Iran multiple times. In June, the United States conducted strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, an operation President Donald Trump has called the 12-Day War. You might be wondering, where does US involvement fit into all this? It's extensive. Washington has provided military support to Israel, carried out its own operations against Iran, targeted Yemen's Houthi forces, and conducted strikes against militant groups in Iraq and Syria. According to the Costs of War report, hundreds of multi-million-dollar munitions were fired from platforms as expensive as $70 million F/A-18 Hornets, 3 of which were lost in the fighting. Interceptor usage, both by the US and supplied to Israel, has also drained Pentagon stockpiles.
Recent US aid does not serve US interests. The bulk of it has gone into enabling Israeli attacks on Gaza, which are disproportionate to aggression by Hamas and will create enmity towards the US in the Middle East and beyond for years to come.
Public opinion in the United States is undergoing a profound shift over the Gaza conflict. A New York Times Siena survey shows that support for Israel among Americans has fallen sharply, from 47% in the immediate aftermath of the October 2023 attacks to just 34% today. Sympathy for Palestinians has meanwhile risen to 36%, with a narrow majority now opposing further US economic and military aid to Israel. Adding to this changing sentiment, a Washington Post poll published on October 5th reveals that 61% of American Jews believe Israel has committed war crimes in Gaza, while nearly 40% go further, saying the country is guilty of genocide against Palestinians.
The American public has a right to know how U.S. funding is used in conflict, and to recognize that U.S. military activities in the Middle East carry significant financial costs for taxpayers.
This is where the human dimension comes in. Beyond the dollars, billions of dollars translate into lives lost, communities destroyed, and long-term regional instability. For US policymakers, it presents a dilemma: how to balance strategic interests, humanitarian concerns, and the expectations of American citizens who may not want endless wars on foreign soil. As the 2-year mark of the Gaza conflict passes, the question on everyone's mind is, what next? There are glimmers of hope. The White House recently unveiled a 20-point proposal aimed at ending the conflict permanently. Israel would withdraw from Gaza, hostages would be released, and Hamas's governance would be replaced with an independent committee led by Palestinian experts. President Trump described the Hamas response as ready for lasting peace, and technical talks are underway in Egypt to move the plan forward. But here's why it's complicated. The US remains heavily committed across the region. Washington has guaranteed Qatar's security, continues strikes against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and maintains support for Israel, all while keeping a watchful eye on Iran and its allies. Any misstep could reignite conflict. And even if the Gaza situation stabilizes, broader regional dynamics, from Iran to the Houthis to Syria, ensure that US involvement and spending are unlikely to taper anytime soon.
The full budgetary impact is likely to increase as replacement and sustainment requirements mature. The fiscal burden is substantial and should be material to discussions on US policy.
So here's what you should take away. The conflict isn't just a distant crisis. It is shaping global geopolitics, influencing US domestic policy, and impacting your taxes. Every missile fired, every aircraft deployed, every intervention has ripple effects that stretch far beyond the battlefield. And as the Middle East braces for a delicate truce, one question remains: will diplomacy prevail, or are we simply buying time before the next escalation? Imagine being there, in Gaza, in Israel, in Washington, watching events unfold with lives, livelihoods, and billions of dollars at stake. How does a nation balance strategic interests with moral responsibility? And perhaps most importantly, how should ordinary citizens reckon with the true cost of distant wars? These are the questions the next chapters of history will answer. But for now, the clock ticks and the consequences of the past 2 years are still very much alive.